I do know that if someone is really in a true sort of struggle psychologically with themselves to the point where they really do need to enter formal therapy.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't always have access to that, and they are still in that struggle.
Yeah.
I am of the opinion that you have to, that it would be wise, albeit a little scary, to really boil it down to the basics and know that you are actually in a life and death struggle.
Yeah. When you're pushed to a point where you decide to take the step to pursue psychotherapy, typically the things you've been doing to try to, survive, right? Survive your life experience, your environment, they must have worked so far to get you here, but it's reached a point where it's not working the same way anymore, right? So you might reach out for help. And that help might be, in a sense, kind of a continuation of that life and death struggle, because even though something isn't working, you only know maybe one or two ways to how to make things work. So it's a conundrum. Like, the things that I know to do to be safe and to get through things aren't working, but it's really scary to imagine like an alternative, right? And that could come up in any number of different ways. So for example, if I'm working with a cis heterosexual man, maybe they're also a man of color, and they're struggling between like, wow, I'm having a lot of conflict in my marriage, I'm having a lot of difficulty with my kids, like I want my kids to know that I'm there, I want my partner to appreciate me and love me, but you know what, just every time they speak their mind or they want to make their own choices, like, it just feels like they're leaving me, or it feels like my authority is being challenged, and so that it's like, wait, you can't just disrespect me like that, right? Like this kind of tension between like wanting to be closer, but feeling that there's a kind of challenge to their authority. And that can also feel like a life and death struggle. Like if you've grown up with a life experience where like the thing that was always inculcated as a central, most important thing is respect. And being respected is fundamental when there's so much precarity around you. Then even, basic interactions like who takes the kids to soccer today can get very fraught very quickly. So suppose I'm having this conversation with this client, and we start to notice over and over again that like, wow, it seems like you don't want to lose your kids, but it's like you start to kind of tighten your grip a little bit, and the more you tighten, the more they're kind of trying to fight out from under you, which then makes you tighten that grip even more. Like I wonder what it would be like if maybe you didn't grip so hard. And that client might say, wait, what, are you crazy? Like I'm the father, they should respect me, this, that, and the third. And at a certain point we start to have, more difficult conversations, like, yeah, like obviously, you're their father, they should, respect and honor their father and their mother. All of that makes total sense to me. But I just notice like the more you try to do these things in order to get their love and respect, it just seems like the more they kind of pull away and the more tension there is. And that might lead us down the road of like, gee, I wonder, how you learn from your own father, from your own parents, like what those dynamics look like. And that will lead us to conversations about cultural values and what it means to be a father and what kind of roles fathers should have in relation to their kids. And suddenly we might realize, gee, it sounds like when your old man was like that with you, that didn't feel good either. But that's the only model that you grew up with for what it meant to be a father and a husband and a caretaker. Gee, given what it was like for you and how it is now with your kids, like I wonder if maybe we need to imagine, a different way of being with them so that you can experience the care and love and respect that you would want to have from your kids. Now, the reason we could say that that's a life and death struggle is because it's a struggle between I've known all my life to be a man this way, and to think about doing it any other way just feels so dysregulated, like the bottom is just falling out beneath me. So it's really scary to have the vulnerability to kind of entertain even if you don't know what it looks like, just a different way of being. It's something that Frantz Fanon referred to as a leap, it's a leap without knowing if you'll fall forever, if you'll land on your feet, if you'll land on your face. But taking that leap just to introduce the possibility of something different than what's here now. You just made me think of a book that I read in, I think it was all the way back in undergrad actually. It's called I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. It's a really good book. It's, I forget the author's name right now, but it was somebody who was in treatment with a pretty well-known psychoanalyst called Frida from Reichman. And this was a person who I think struggled with psychosis, and they were in treatment with from Reichman. And you know, as they're going through the treatment and they start getting better, and the kind of delusions and psychoses start to recede, well, they leave the world of their psychoses and are now in the real world. And she gets angry. Like, she gets angry with the therapist. Like, what the fuck is all this? And her therapist told her very much that. Like, I didn't promise you a rose garden. I didn't promise you some utopia on the other side of your symptoms. It's just reality, right? It's not like, oh, if you do these things, then the partner of your dreams will land on your lap, or the thing you always wanted to hear from your parents, they'll magically say them to you, right? It's like, there's only the possibility of something that's not now. It's like the possibility of not suffering, but there's still pain.
Right.
If we were to use, say, like addictions as a metaphor, it's like suppose somebody has, say, an alcohol misuse problem, and they drink in order to avoid some pain, right? Whether it's a trauma or anxiety, whatever it is. So on the one hand, they're using the substance to manage that pain, even if it creates other pain, like a medical complication, or they're not able to be present with their loved ones, etc. So they're kind of balancing out one pain with another. And in the context of psychotherapy, the invitation might be, what would it be like to entertain a change? Now that change might be reducing the use or moderating and managing it. The change might mean becoming abstinent or like working towards some form of abstinence. So whatever that is, it means not using the substance to the same level in order to manage that pain. So on the other side of that, it's like, well, if I'm not, like drinking to the extent that I have been, then I suddenly have to wrestle with that pain. What's on the other side of it? Like, if I reduce my drinking, does that mean my relationships will improve and I'll feel better, et cetera, all these things? Possibly, maybe, hopefully. Can anyone really know that? No. But is it possible that if you move through that pain, there's something else? That something else might be good, it might be bad. You don't really know until you cross that. So it's almost like the things that, lead us to fall ill, it's almost like the same mechanism is what help us heal. Like if it was, I have to take on this pain to kind of salve some wound that I have, then conversely, it's only by walking through that pain that I can also begin to heal. And I think that's what's kind of beautiful in a way about how it is we cope with problems, because even something that you might say, oh, that's bad, they shouldn't drink, or that's bad, they shouldn't self-harm, or that's bad, they shouldn't do whatever behavior it is that gets people into trouble, that's still them trying to heal. Like they keep doing the thing, not because they want to, have a self-fulfilling prophecy or whatever. Like they're doing the thing over and over again because they're trying to solve a problem. They're trying to do the thing in the hopes either of getting that outcome that will heal that thing inside, or that they'll be able to experience again the time where it did work, right? Like to call it, like, oh, madness is repeating the thing over and over and expect a different outcome. Yeah, there's something true in that, but I think it can also demean the ways that we're all trying to heal, even when it hurts. And so what psychotherapy or any kind of change process does is to try to help us kind of feel and think and behave or work through, if you prefer, that pain in order to create an aperture. We don't know necessarily what's on the other side, but it's got to be better than where we're at right now.